This was the ultimate goal, but it would be a slow dance indeed. To reach the Peace Bridge today, truckers heading south on 190 first had to wait at a traffic jam that by midday stretched more than a mile back to the Scajaquada. Exiting at Porter Avenue, they faced further delay as they waited again to be let through in bunches. Officials told us it was better this way than to just have them flood onto city streets and create gridlock. After another 45 minutes of standing still, some were allowed to navigate the circle on Porter and head to the Peace Bridge Plaza, their goal in sight. But others would be directed down Porter onto Niagara, heading north again in a circuitous route, which would bring them down Bust Avenue, only to be told to get in the queue and wait again. Parked as they were, with their ultimate goal, the Peace Bridge, perhaps mockingly within view. So close, yet so far. These truckers left from the Angola rest stop this morning to make their break for the border, and were doing well until they got on the 190.
4 to 5 hours.
From 190 to this point on Bust Avenue, 4 to 5 hours.
Yes, too much waiting.
And from our observations this afternoon, it appeared that they might have to wait another 1 hour before they reach the other side of the bridge to clear customs. Put another way, this guy here may well have gotten there faster.
President Donald Trump taking to Truth Social, proposing a 100% tariff on movies made outside the United States. It's the second time he's put out this idea after posting back in May that the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death.
I'm not just blaming other nations, but other nations, a lot of them, have stolen our movie industry. And I'm saying if they're not willing to make a movie inside the United States, then we should have a tariff on movies that come in.
The president says incentives overseas are drawing production away from our country. Writing Monday, our movie-making business has been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby.
Buffalo and Niagara Falls and the Western New York region have really has really exploded as a production center.
Here in Western New York,
the filmmakers that I speak with that are inbound to Western New York were coming here long before any talk of a tariff.
Tim Clark is the Buffalo Niagara Film Commissioner.
In the long run, if this were to happen, you're going to see all the studios shift back to shooting in the United States, which would be a good thing.
For now, Clark is taking a wait-and-see approach.
We're going to be doing fine the way we are because of the incentives in upstate New York.
Although some in the industry also see how the tariffs could have a negative impact.
It disincentivizes the making of a movie, period, as opposed to saying, oh, you know what, we should be producing this film in California, or we should be producing this film in Minnesota.
Once again, this is just a proposal. If this were to go through, President Donald Trump didn't say when or how this could be enacted. On your side, Courtney Courtwright, Channel 2 News.
Hyde Park Ice Pavilion is now under new management. Mike Corella, the former operator, ran the ice rink for more than a decade. For 2 weeks, 2 on Your Side has been asking the mayor of Niagara Falls about the topic. On Wednesday, this was his initial response.
I think that we are pretty well exhausted on the issue of the ice rink. And Sir, excuse me a minute, officer. Chief.
Rustino later agreed to an interview explaining that last month Niagara Falls City Council rejected a proposal from an Albany-based company called Legacy Hospitality. Rustino says he was disappointed by this vote, but he needed to find a new operator by October 1st.
Whenever possible, you would love to get responsible operators who are local, but I think that to suggest that we have to restrict ourselves to that really doesn't bode well for responsible government.
Jerry Paleo from 16 Athletics operates a youth baseball complex. Now he will also run the ice rink. One Niagara Falls councilman weighs in on the issue.
I feel like it's personal. I feel like, anything but the Corellas.
Miles explains why some council members voted down Legacy Hospitality's proposal.
We did our homework as council. We chose to make a decision. He didn't like our decision, so he went another route. So do I think that there's another group that could come? Well, this is 14 years of relationship building.
Kimberly Parkhill Brown was in the city of Tonawanda courts today facing charges for falsifying records as well as companion animal stealing. The dog is named Benji. He's a small mini Yorkie, and his owner, Monica Krogan, claims that someone she knew named Tyler Fabian stole her dog, took him to the McBride Animal Hospital, where he then was treated by Park Hill Brown. She claims that the vet removed and replaced his microchip and then neutered him and even removed skin tags on his ears to change his appearance. Dog's owner claims that the vet tried to cover the whole thing up by falsifying business records. Krogan has also brought a civil suit for $1 million. It reads, quote, Park Hill expressed that she believes those living on an Indian reservation lack both the resources and the moral character to take care of an animal the way white people can, end quote. We spoke with the Erie SPCA on what they did during this case.
Benji was brought by Niagara County SPCA to the Erie County SPCA for examination upon the seizure, the search and seizure warrant initially when he was removed from the Tonawanda residence. Our veterinarian did examine him because Niagara County didn't have a veterinarian available at the time. So we were able to examine him at our shelter to confirm his health and things like that and document the evidence before he was taken back to Niagara County for evidence holding.
Back in November, 4 months after Benji was taken, lawyers for the family says it was a whistleblower inside the animal hospital who told their supervisor what happened and then reached out to the city of Tonawanda Police. Park Hill Brown is due back in court on October 28th. On your side in the city of Tonawanda, Natalie Foss, Channel 2 News.
Parishioners handling the appeal for St. John Canty and their proposed closure that the Buffalo Diocese has put forward, merging them with St. Stanislaus and selling off this property. Well, that proposal has been put on hold. These letters are being taken as a good sign, a sign of hope, as these parishioners continue to get the ear of the Vatican and urge them to have the Buffalo Diocese reconsider, take a second look at this, and perhaps save the parish that they love so much. We've seen letters like this coming out in Lockport with All Saints Parish, St. Josephat and Cheektowaga as well. The unique thing here is that this property, St. John Canty on Broadway in Buffalo, was put on the market fairly quickly. We saw word from the developer looking to sell it, repurpose it, and have it used for something else other than the church that has stood here since 1892. A Polish church that has a long history and something that parishioners say should be saved.
We're ecstatic. We feel like our prayers have been answered thus far in this journey. The letters basically say, one, the merger, the closing is not going to happen for a period of time, and two, that the relegation to profane and sordid use to sell the church to a non-church use will be stopped for the time being.
In response, the Buffalo Diocese said in a statement, quote, the decision of the dicastery for the clergy to grant an additional review of the diocese plans to merge St. John Canty Church with St. Stanislaus follows the very consultative and deliberative process that the diocese has followed in implementing the Road to Renewal. Bishop Fisher will be engaging with the dicastery to further detail a decision to merge St. John Canty with St. Stanislaus during his upcoming visit to Rome. That trip to Rome is set to happen in the coming weeks at some point in October. 2 On Your Side Investigates has been told that these appeals, over 30 of them within the Buffalo Catholic Diocese, will play a key part in those meetings with the Vatican. Reporting On Your Side in Buffalo, Rob Hackford, Channel 2 News.
Kiko Swain was the minister of music for many years at True Bethel Baptist Church. He died this week. His wife says he was a passenger on a medical van. She was told that when he was returning home from dialysis, somewhere on the 290, the van was in an accident. Kiko and the driver were taken to ECMC. The driver was okay, but not Kiko.
And they said that they were doing CPR, his heart keeps stopping, and they were trying to get a pulse again.
His injuries were extensive.
His femur was broken, his pelvic was broken, the bottom part of his leg had an extremely big gash in it, and he was bleeding out.
His wife has concerns about whether he was safe in the van in his power wheelchair.
Because of the injuries, I'm sure he flew out the chair, and they never strap us in. I really believe he was not strapped down, because even if he had a seatbelt on, it would have held him.
He had a recent stay in a hospital, only to die like this.
Since January of this year, he's had 5 surgeries, and he made it through all the surgeries just to have his life ended from someone's negligence.
For more than 30 years, he was a key figure in the music ministry at True Bethel Baptist Church. And he would play with other musicians around town.
He is a genius. I call him maestro, because honest to God, he can hear something one time and play it.
Kiko Swain was 58 years old.
A loss for Buffalo.
Yes. Yes, he's going to be terribly missed. I miss him already.
This isn't just about violence. This is about families. This is about people in our community struggling.
For the first time in the city's history, Buffalo has an Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
I have served families, probably about over 500 families who've been affected by gun violence, either homicide or they've been injured.
And Adrian Garr, a licensed social worker with over a decade of violence prevention experience, has been named executive director.
Adrian understands that behind every statistic, there is a person, there is a family, there is a community.
Director Garr says that her initiatives will also include community roundtables, conducting data collection on violence, and creating a youth advisory board.
We want to get people together just to see what they're doing and see how they're aligning together and just make the work more effective and more impactful in a broad way.
Garr steps into this role just days after a Buffalo police officer shot and injured a woman in the shoulder. Police say the woman refused to drop a knife after being pepper sprayed by police. She then stabbed a man in the head.
Where does that investigation stand, and how will an office like this possibly prevent situations like that in the future?
I don't want to take away from this announcement right now. The investigation is still ongoing and should be concluding soon.
But Councilwoman Everhart says the office will address those exact scenarios and their ripple effects.
We had young people out there, we had older people out there, we had families out there. Everyone that was out there witnessed 2 traumatic incidents within minutes of each other. And after the police left, after the ambulances left, that was it. That is what this office will do. We will deploy those resources directly to those families after traumatic incidences happen.
Well, I got hired in 2004 by Niagara County to stop this.
That was after CWM announced it wanted to double the size of its hazardous waste landfill along Balmer Road in the town of Porter. If that location sounds familiar, it's kitty corner from the Niagara Falls storage site I've talked about so much in the past, and it sits on the former Lake Ontario Ordnance Works site from World War II. By 2013, CWM Chemical Services, which is a division of Waste Management, submitted a permit application for a new 43-acre hazardous waste landfill, one that would have a 29-year lifespan before it was capped and would house more than 6 million tons of waste. Their existing hazardous waste landfill was finished and capped in 2015, so this would have been something new altogether. But on Monday, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Hazardous Waste Facility Siting Board denied the permit application.
And I think we persuaded the siting board that the municipality's opposition outweighs the state's interest in this facility.
The siting board specifically cited in their decision that, quote, there is no current or near-term need for increased capacity for hazardous waste management. Additionally, the proposed landfill does not conform to the siting criteria established for such facility. And CWM Chemical Services failed to demonstrate by a preponderance of evidence that the proposed siting of the landfill is otherwise necessary or in the public interest, and denied the permit.
We're done. We don't want it. We don't need it. We've been doing fine since the landfill has been capped over 10 years ago at CWM.
Niagara County legislator Irene Myers has been one of the leading voices in government against the planned expansion and calls the decision a victory for the future of Niagara County.
If that permit would have been passed, it would have been over 6 million tons of toxic waste coming here over the next 3 decades. That's 30 years. So, you know, we would be just passing it along to our children and our grandchildren, and that's not fair and it's not right.
Environmental advocates at Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper also called the decision a victory for the future of the region's waterways.
It really goes to show you how collective community voices that are persistent over decades really can rise to the occasion and have common sense in making decisions that affect our community for generations to come.
Since 2019, when developer Doug Jamal stepped up to add a portion of the failing 1960s-era Boulevard Mall property to his portfolio, We've heard his and Amherst current supervisor Brian Kolpa's views, really transformation talk of a town community project with mixed-use space for retail and offices, but also specifically 1,500 units of diverse housing for seniors and even UB students. Now the Buffalo News reporting Jamal is selling out his portion of the property to Benderson Development, which already owns part of the 60-plus acre complex. A Benderson executive did confirm the deal, but says they are not yet ready to share their vision for the Boulevard site and will do so at the appropriate time. But the huge Florida-based firm with over 1,000 properties across the country does not specifically list any residential development except for a mention of some eventual housing in Sarasota, Florida. So for the two Amherst Town supervisor candidates, what are their thoughts going forward for the Boulevard site? Both welcoming Benderson's involvement. Democrat Sean Lavin mentioning his current town board and deputy supervisor position, declining an on-camera interview, only a statement that under Benderson, the town's vision will take shape with a good partnership. Also, the mall site's transformation will combine retail with residential type development, specifically mentioning again diverse housing for seniors and workforce in vibrant neighborhood setting. No specific mention of student housing. Republican candidate Dan Gagliardo did meet with us, stressing town government is not in the development business, and when asked about housing in particular,
I think we have to find out what is Benderson thinking about. What are their plans? I think that the housing component was this big grandiose plan. Now, we could see what's happened in the past. Big grandiose plans in this town don't normally work. So I trust that Benderson will know what we need in this area. As long as he gets the input of the residents, they're involved right from the beginning. I think that this thing will work out well.
Go through the process with a trusted friend, relative, or professional. That's really my best advice.
Duncan Ryan Mann is a professor in the College of Business at SUNY Empire University. He says when you're choosing a Medicare plan, it's important to look at what the range of benefits are and whether there are additional premiums.
Most Medicare Advantage plans have limited networks, so that's another piece to look at. If a person has a specific doctor that they've been with for 10 years, 20 years or more and want to retain that doctor, they should double check to make sure that doctor is in the network.
There's a lot of information to go through. This year's official U.S. government Medicare handbook is 128 pages. We also talked with Lisa Giancarlo with Clarity Group Medicare Plan Centers this afternoon. She told us there are 130,000 people in New York who have gotten or will be getting letters this week about their plans ending. They have until the end of December to choose a new one.
I'm not saying that there aren't going to be other plans available in your community that'll be a zero cost that people are looking at mostly. It's the way they're revamping Medicare's programs and the cost analysis that the prescription drug coverage has had on these programs.
She said visits to the doctor will still be very reasonable, but you're going to want to check your prescription drug benefits for possible changes to out-of-pocket costs.
They've lowered the out-of-pocket costs to the client for the maximum for prescription drug benefits. However, that incurred a lot of cost on the health insurance companies because the pharmaceutical companies were no longer helping as much as they were. So in that avenue, that's why it's going back onto the client again.
We certainly are trying to make it as easy as possible for individuals who want to cast their ballot to cast their ballot. You don't need an excuse to go and request an absentee or mail-in ballot.
So far, more than 11,000 of Erie County's more than 635,000 registered voters have done just that. These are some of the ballots being mailed out Monday that workers were getting ready today. Federal and military ballots have already gone out.
We've had a lot of questions, a lot of folks that are really concerned about some of the things that the president has tried to get done through executive orders, but nothing has changed in New York State.
And that means you have until October 25th to request a mail-in ballot. It takes less than 5 minutes online.
Once you complete your ballot, you're able to track your ballot on the Erie County Board of Elections website to make sure that we receive your ballot and that it is going to be counted.
The Board of Elections says Erie County gets the most requests for mail-in ballots in the state outside of New York City.
There's a lot of local races throughout the county. There's the mayor's race, there's a county comptroller race, there's a few county legislators. So really, this is, folks take this year for granted, but there's a lot on the ballot.
38-year-old Cynthia Gilbert was arraigned in state Supreme Court this morning and charged with 1 count of attempted murder in the 2nd degree and 1 count of attempted assault in the 1st degree. Now, this stems from an incident at the Donovan Drive Apartments last Saturday morning. Erie County District Attorney Michael Kane says that Gilbert was allegedly armed with a large knife and threatening people outside of the apartment. When Buffalo police responded to the scene, despite several attempts made by officers to de-escalate the situation, Gilbert used the knife allegedly on a 39-year-old man, cutting him in the head. At that point, Buffalo police officer fired his gun, hitting Gilbert in the shoulder. District Attorney Kane says that his office has determined through body cam video that the officer's use of force was justified.
A police officer may use deadly physical force when it is necessary to defend another person from what the officer reasonably believes to be the use of deadly physical force. The police officers showed extraordinary calm, restraint, patience, and professionalism in this situation, and quite frankly, the determination that their use of force was justified was not a difficult one.
Gilbert suffered a injury to her shoulder after police shot her. The 39-year-old man who was stabbed in the head was also recovering at ECMC. The district attorney said they are not releasing body cam at this time. Buffalo police, it would be up to them whether or not to release the video that they have right now. Gilbert is being held without bail until her next court appearance, which has not yet been scheduled. Live and on your side in downtown Buffalo, Nate Benson, Channel 2 News.